controller had told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
Is there a correlation between any of the characteristics of these UAPs, UFOs?
What we tend to see are the smaller vehicles tend to be, think of a sports car. The large ones tend to be, not always, but almost exclusively either triangular shape or boomerang shape.
Werewolves? I see dead people walking around like they don't see each other. They only see what they want to see. They don't know they're dead.
The UFO, UAP community was fairly surprised. Shocked might be a better word.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came to some of these recoveries.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
Do you think there is life on other planets?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I suppose there would be.
I've seen a flying saucer.
You've seen one?
Yes, definitely. At Lane Cove.
When was it?
1953.
You don't think this is a figment of your imagination?
Several other people with me saw it.
There is now a new UFO whistleblower with some major bombshell level statements.
There's very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
This episode is brought to you by some amazing people. The Diz Loki, Patrick O'Leary, Tabin R., Gary T., Eddie Tab, Diane Boss, Mecca Mickey, T-Bone, Dorothy Hawkins, Jeanette Angel, Kelly Lewis, Richard and Fern Harrison, and Nathan from The Quantum Show. And a special thank you to all of our subscribers on YouTube, Spotify, and now over on Rumble. If you wish to support the podcast, you can click that join button below to become an Eyes to That Sky member. Or if you want to join our Patreon or to provide other support, the links are below in the show description. But now, on with the show. Welcome to the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, where we explore the unexplained and mysterious phenomena that have occurred throughout the state of Michigan and beyond.
From UFO sightings to ghostly encounters, we delve deep into the stories, the evidence, and the theories behind these strange events.
We are your hosts. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Wayne.
We are an educator duo that after an encounter with a triangular UFO in 2018 in Michigan, we decided to investigate UFOs and the paranormal. In this podcast, we will be speaking with eyewitnesses, experts, and researchers to uncover the truth about some of the most intriguing cases of paranormal activity in and around Michigan.
Our goal is not to convince anyone of the existence of these phenomena, but rather to provide a platform for discussion and exploration. So, buckle up and join us on this journey down the paranormal rabbit hole.
On an escalator.
And here we are. What is going on, everybody? And welcome to the show tonight. We are coming to you from within the shadow of the great Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. Deep within our underground bunker, we want to thank you for joining us on this first December episode, because it is Sunday, December 1st at the time of this recording. And I have a new, well, I was going to say a new co-host, but I won't go there. But I'll say I've got 4 new holes in my shoulder with 4 new screws added in. And I am flying high on chocolate, caffeine, and some
bad decisions.
Coke Zero, and, you know, coming down from the spaced out radio interview that was going on the other day. And I will not talk about having a new South Korean co-host that's going to help us out by the name of Yum E. But we'll just move on from that. Michelle, how's it going tonight?
I don't even know what to say. I know after the radio show the other night, I was exhausted all day yesterday. I'm like, I remember staying up for 48 hours at a time back in college. It was like coffee. What was it? Coffee, French fries, and toast. We used to go to this place called Fenby's in Adrian. And that's literally what we lived off of. Or what was it? Cheesy bread from Sheffy's back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
So,
right?
but man, even being up past midnight, it was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's because we're not, 19 years old anymore. But with that being said, if you have a story you would like to tell us, people, and you got something interesting, paranormal, UFO, UAP, whatever related, you can email us at mi.ufo.podcast@gmail.com.
Also, if you wish to make a donation to the podcast, you can do so with PayPal, Super Chats, buy us a coffee, check out our merch store, or join the Patreon. All of those links can be found below in the show description. So if you become a YouTube member or a Patreon member, you will get that shout out during the intro and be listed in the credits at the end of the show as a thank you for your support.
Absolutely. And you guys really are killing it lately with the subs. We got to say massive thank you to you guys that are out there trying to break that algorithm right now. Right before the show went live, I checked the analytics and it says this is one of the highest numbers I've ever seen of subscribed watchers to a show. Maybe Joe Rogan's better, I don't know. But 60.1% of the watchers are subscribed. That's crazy. Get out of here. But that is really awesome. That means we only have about 40% of you that watch this that are not subscribed. So if you want to keep helping us break the algorithm and break the interwebs, just keep on hitting that button. And don't forget, if you're listening to us over on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button. That's as good as a subscribe for us over there. So really appreciate you. All right, Michelle, let's go ahead and take a few minutes before we get this show really going. And let's welcome some people.
Ooh, I'm going to start out with Straw Dog.
I
think he was the first one in there. Give me
SB1. What's going on, buddy?
So we've got Straw Dog. Give me a second here. We've got Gary with us tonight.
Gary from Gaylord.
Oh, look, it's Sir Bryan Bowden in chat as well.
Oh, wow.
Hey. Amazing. We've got T-Bone is here with us tonight. Patrick O'Leary is in the house.
Nice.
We've got Rick Davis with us. We've got Diane Boss.
We got Nathan.
We've got Nathan from the Quantum Show. We've got Metalhead. Tabin's with us tonight. Let's see. I'm almost there. Woo Riders. DG is with us tonight as well.
Awesome.
I think I got everyone. I'm going through.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, let's see.
Diane
J.
Boss.
Paul. J. Paul is with us tonight. I got Diane.
Who's this? Necessary Dialogue. Sweet. Welcome. Glad you're here. Rick Davis.
I think, yep, got Rick.
All right.
So, or Sir Rick.
Sir Rick. Okay. Yeah. Maybe he's knighted as well.
Yeah, he said he was.
Oh, well, there you go. Very cool.
There you go.
And then look at this. It's not me. That is not me. Just so everybody's clear. That is somebody from Spaced Out Radio that saw us the other night. His name is also Wayne. He says, this is the first time visiting you two. Found you on SOR. Well, welcome, Wayne. Good seeing you. And, you know, what's really weird is that now we can say that in our show, if we go from Michelle's point of view, Michelle grew up in the city of Wayne, within Wayne County, married a guy named Wayne.
Went to Wayne Memorial.
Lived off of
Wayne Road.
Lived off of Wayne Road. Now we have a guest named Wayne. This is crazy. We're breaking fourth, fifth, sixth walls, dimensions. Who knows? And yes, I am doped up right now on ibuprofen and caffeine. So
and still bad decisions.
Oh yeah, bad decisions.
So, but anyone who wants to check out the Spaced Out Radio episode from the other night,
Friday night.
Friday night. I don't even know what the date is on that one. 29th.
Yep.
29th, literally 9 p.m. Pacific time.
Yep.
And if you watch it on YouTube, just keep an eye on the chat and you'll understand why Wayne makes his little jokes at me every now and then.
Yeah. I don't know. The dinner you made tonight was extremely yummy. So
I have a yummy personality too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, I guess I just have good choice in my wife right now. Right. So
I just can't. I can't.
Inside / outside joke.
I know. Well, you know what? Now everybody's going to go over to that Spaced Out Radio on YouTube
and just go
Friday
read
night,
the chat.
And they're going to listen to the interview for a couple hours. They're going to read the chat and go, "Oh, now we see what she's talking about."
It all makes sense, doesn't it, Marilyn Monroe? Oh, sorry.
Too soon.
Too soon. All right. So, so get over to Spaced Out Radio and go check out that episode with us. It was a good episode and a good conversation with Dave. All right. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of this wackiness seems like it's already bleeding through and creeping from 2025 back a little bit into 2024. So obviously, everybody who watches this show has listened to us, knows that we covered a lot about the UFO, UAP hearing in the quote unquote community as of late, especially because there was not only the one hearing with the 4 witnesses you had the Rear Admiral, U.S. Navy retired Dr. Tim Gallaudet. And I really wish, and being an Army guy, I'm going to say this and I'm going to offend some people, but they need to get rid of the rear from the admiral thing. They need to come up with something else when you're in the Navy. You don't want to be a rear admiral in the Navy. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Then we had Luis Elizondo, the former director or Department of Defense and Intel and director of ATIP. And then we had Michael Gold, who was the former NASA Associate Administrator of Space Policy and Partnerships, and also member of the NASA UAP Independent Study Team. Yeah, you know, the guys, they do an independent study, you know, to kind of check and see what they were doing. Of course, they found no wrongdoing within NASA or anything like that. And then we had the journalist, Michael Schellenberger, who was there because of the release of what I would call a real whistleblower contacted him and gave him information on a program called Immaculate Constellation, and just saying the name gets you on a list. Probably on the naughty list, but that's okay. And if that wasn't bad enough, not but a week later, we had Mr. John, I think it's pronounced Kozlowski, who is the next director of AARO. He talked in front of the Armed Services Subcommittee on Emerging Threats and Capabilities for an amazing 32 minutes or so. We are now hearing predictions that the U.S. military is going to be involved in some kind of a fight with UAPs in December. Not the first time hearing this. A few people have mentioned this over the last month or so. YouTube videos are popping up talking about possible invasions happening between today, the 1st of December, and the 3rd, or possibly the 5th of December, We have now reports of Bigfoot being spotted in Florida recently. And to wrap it all up, we're going to dive into a bit of what is remote viewing going to be like coming up in 2025. And I have a feeling it's going to be pretty exciting for those that do it. And then right before we hit that go live button, we got some new breaking news tonight. And we were just informed that dogs and cats are now living together in complete bliss. So with all that craziness going on, everybody, who better to have on the show to talk about all these insane matters but the guy who put woo in mac and cheese? He's the third time returning champion, Sir Bryan M. Bowden. Welcome, Bryan. How are you, man?
I'm good. Had a little incident a couple of days ago, but I survived it.
Good.
I broke my my 13-year-old daughter's nail, and I had to call in for backup and air support. And but we were able to get it resolved quickly. She went nuts. So, but
did you learn all the new slang that they call people during that time frame? At about 13, I'm sure you were very Ohio and not very Sigma, and Skibbity Toilet was getting ready to
no cap, Wayne.
No capping.
No cap.
No.
I just try to throw down with the kids every once in a while. My kids are like, can you please stop?
Well, that is very demure of you, and you're being very mindful. You get aura points.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Well, we had like, like I'm trying to understand the relationship of how it evolved from our time frame into now to like, oh, that's whack to that's skibbity. Because skibbity could be two things at the same time. It could be good or bad or weird. Sigma. Sigma. I went and I was like, come on, let's go. Bus it. Let's go. And she's like, Dad, don't do that. I'm like, listen, I was born when it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm born and raised in the Boogie Town, Bronx, home of rap, the creation. Had a lot of friends in that business that I knew as friends, not as rap stars. And one of them is the head of, or was, Chuck D. And I knew Chuck long before he was Charles. We used to call him Chuck every once in a while, but it wasn't Chuck D. And then I'm like, I know that I'm hearing them go, and I'm like, I know that voice. And I look on the screen, the video, and I'm like, holy crap, he did it, So yeah, we were cool once.
Yeah, well, that was like back when actually how I met Michelle is back in the day, being in a local Detroit band, and we got pretty big and started doing touring and stuff, and got to meet who was it in Detroit here? Grandmaster P was one of the big rappers here in Detroit that was putting things together around Motown and all that. And
were you rapping, or were you like rock?
No, we were the first band was like thrash metal. The second band was more like if Anthrax went and just created a complete album with a rapper, and that was our second album. So I guess nowadays they call it new metal.
But, yeah, I had a buddy who was the lead singer of Idle Threat, and I knew all these guys in different bands. And
oh yeah, we played with all these guys, man.
I've been in a metal band. I've been in a country band, southern rock band. I've been in a new wave band, punk, and I mean, anything and everything we used to do. And I write and sing my own songs. So I would play some of my songs, and the guy that started the band, a little bit more like U2, The Alarm, that era genre. And he's like, man, we're trying to get it, trying to get an album. We can't, you got to stop with, your songs. And it was the last night we were together as a band, because they said, here's the problem. When you sing your songs, no one does anything. When I sing my songs, everybody's singing back.
Yeah.
Bye. And, and let me tell you something. I used to be a bit nervous going on stage. So, and I don't, condone this for everybody, but I would drink a fifth of tequila with the worm in it. Yeah. No salt, no lemon, just straight tequila.
Oh,
so
man.
you're kind of like and once people started singing the song I wrote back to me, there's nothing like it
Yeah.
at all. It is the greatest high in the world.
Yeah,
The exception being like maybe the birth of your child is
yeah,
pretty good.
that's pretty much how I was. I never drank or did any of that stuff out on the road or rehearsals or anything like that. For me, it was just, I always enjoyed the process of music writing and things like that. And, it was just playing with the big bands though, that we got to play with, Infectious Grooves and Rob Halford and Fight and Testament and, all of these, Biohazard from your neck of the woods.
I know
right?
Biohazard.
Yeah. Evan and all them.
Yeah, I know Biohazard. I don't know if you watch Drew Stone. He was in a few bands. He does the New York hardcore scene every Sunday at 3:00. And I'll
Oh,
do what
wow.
Drew does. I grew up with, he was friends with my older brother, so I knew Drew. I'm friends with his younger brother, who is Evan B. Stone. You may know him from Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh Gates, yeah.
And their sister Kelly, and the dad's Arnie Stone. So they make some really good movies. They did a lot of the first original videos. And now Evan's doing something. And if you want, I'm going to ask, if you want to get him on, he's doing something with Jack Vasey. And it's, I forgot the name of it, SRS. It's like a live YouTube kind of show. They do 30-minute segments, and then they go live to do a recap, and it's really great. He's still doing all that Expedition Unknown stuff, but
yeah,
it's like, but these aren't like, I'm not really big with fame for people. I don't care how famous you are.
Yeah,
it means nothing. You're my friend. That's it. One of my friends, God rest his soul, is Hector Collazo, and if you're a comic book guy or girl, he was an artist for Marvel and DC. But Hector was just a friend of mine, like a really good friend of mine. When I ran for president, when Obama was first running, someone said, well, do something, run for president. So I submitted some applications and I ran. And I said, I said, Hector, I need you. I need your help. He's like, what's up, brother? I go, I want you to be my vice president. I'm running for president. He goes, why me? I said, we got to carry the Latino vote, dude. He's like, okay. It's like, okay. So I think we got on like North or South Carolina ballot. That was about it. And maybe some other place down south. So people thought maybe, that's Baba Bowden's cousin or something like that. Yeah. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun stuff. And it's great that you guys met and you have a yummy relationship. And Dave Scott's also great too. So I know Dave very, very well. I was actually just talking to him the other day. I do a lot of I'm the guy with like 9,000 podcasts, which I don't have 9,000 podcasts. I'm trying to get my first one up. I finally found the software that I'm going to use. And I think I'm going with like that Melon thing because it offers so much more. And then I'm just going to start up Wednesdays. I think it's 8 to 9 p.m. And it's going to be very casual. I'm going to try to have some paranormal people there, but I'm really looking into the concept of how your consciousness, how your third eye, that sixth sense we all have, and Michelle really has a good one with this.
Yeah.
You are just like, hopefully you didn't see any more people getting hacked or thrown over bridges, but
no, I haven't.
Yeah. Well, I want to know how
enough.
I want to know how it contributes to you making music, doing the podcast, to that feeling or whatever makes you successful in what you do. Not just, and we'll have we can do live call-ins. That gets sketchy because we don't have like an area off that someone could say, all right, you're not going to say something bad or whatever, because that can go south real quick.
Yep.
Depending on the people. And we'll try to have that in there, or we'll try to have like real psychics and card readers and people with gifts where people can actually not only watch and take, but they can participate. They can ask questions of the guests. And I think that's really different. And if I can do it, I'm going to try to do it for everybody and myself.
That's cool. Yeah, and just real quick, just want to give a quick shout out to T-Bone out there who went ahead and did 10 gifted subs again. So, dude, you are awesome. Thank you very much. And Diane Boss telling everybody, hit that like button,
Anvil, good band.
subscribe, share, become a member. Yep.
I mean,
And don't forget, we've got a goal set up at the top over there somewhere.
Right.
For 15 super chats of $2 or more before the show ends. That all goes to the StreamYard fund until, like Brian was talking about, we're going to make our jump over to another streaming platform here at some point. It's called Melon, and everybody can check that out if they're interested in that.
So, I mean, like there's I see lots of familiar names, and I wish I had faces to go with the names. It's so nice when I'm used to it now, but we grew up knowing people, and having this chat. And then when you finally meet somebody you really kind of jive with online, man or woman, I've met them, a couple of people at conferences, and it's just great. Like, oh my God, that's what you look like,
Yeah. Yeah. They're basically the same person,
100%.
Yeah.
And it's great what you guys are doing. I mean, I'm not, and I'll say it straight up, I don't put any weight on the UAP hearings and that stuff at all. First of all, there isn't a UAP. It's called UFOs, unidentified flying objects, not unidentified aerial phenomenon. I don't want that third party group trying to co-opt, what they want to call them. I got 2 words to them. They're not happy birthday. And if talking about Spaced Out Radio, I have been the only one. I've been on numerous shows with that. I'm the only one that says disclosure happened. It already happened. And this is a dog and pony show. And I do not, I appreciate Lou Elizondo for what he has done for us as a country and our protection. But the man still has a security clearance, but he's telling you the truth. But he lied for a living and deceived, but he's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't jive.
It is so hard because you can tell that there's an operation that's going on to make you question everything about the whole UFO UAP thing. When you find out that they used to take younger, new intelligence guys and they would walk them past a room that might have the door open with what might look like a part of a UFO or a picture or a video or something of a UFO. And then they would wait to see and monitor those guys and see if they leaked it. And then they would know who the leaks were. Then those guys would get, they definitely played games with each other. And then it makes you wonder, okay, these guys that are coming out now, are these the guys that they basically wanted to let go? And now they're using them like useful idiots about, oh yeah, there's definitely a crash retrieval, a UFO crash retrieval. Well, let's see. Since we call them UAPs now. Yeah, we can say UFO, but I didn't say UAP. Right.
This is the game, right?
Yep.
And
that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, you guys being teachers hear this BS all the time.
Yeah.
The kids, they try to, think they're slick, and they realize there is not anyone that's outside of Gen X that is slick. Very few. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some people, but you have no idea, like I've literally caught both of my daughters when they were 7th grade, my and they're trying to be slick. And I'm like, you have no idea what your mother was doing before she married me. Okay. You have no idea what I did. My daughter is off for break down here in Florida. It's like weird. They were off for a week. And it was like a Monday or something like that. And my daughter's like, hey dad, you ever go to jail? Have you ever been in jail? Because they're watching something. And I said, yeah, but I'm not talking about it. I just walked out, and she's like, what? Talking about the music days, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
for the day before Thanksgiving, my 2 oldest daughters came and hung out with us for a little bit. And I'm sorry, guys, this isn't about this topic yet, but you know,
Getting there.
we're going to get there.
Oh, we're getting there.
But I was talking to them, and I looked at Michelle and I said, you know, you realize there were two types of Gen Xers. There was the Gen Xers that had the family, right? The mom, dad, probably brother / sisters, multiples. And then there was people like me whose mother was basically incentivized to not be married to my dad, to do everything that she could to not be married, and myself being the 8th child of 8. Now, different fathers involved, okay? All my brothers and sisters were much older than me. But there was what we called the latchkey kids. When I was 5 years old, now imagine this to a kid today. When I went to kindergarten, my mom sent me out the door. I walked a couple blocks to the elementary school. We got out at around noon. They didn't feed us lunch.
Yeah.
We walked home with all the scary strangers in the 70s. This was like 74, 75. Okay. And I let myself in the house till my mom got home, which might have been 7 o'clock at night. I was 5. I was making my own food for dinner. There were no microwaves.
No.
You know, I would open up a damn can of green beans and throw it in a pan and put it on a fire with a bunch of butter.
Yeah.
I would make grilled cheese. I mean,
we did watch a lot of TV, and there was some really good stuff on.
Or
You know,
we were outside, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Riding
We went
bikes,
around a lot.
jumping ramps, throwing frogs across the street, playing Frogger for real. I mean, bro, we would have bottle rocket fights. We would hold bottle rockets in our hands by the
Bottle
by the
rockets. You
stick.
didn't use rum candles because those suckers.
Oh yeah, we did that too. Just when we could look older enough to actually buy those and not get, you know, in trouble. Dude,
It's totally different, and maybe this is one of the reasons why that the majority of people that are really in touch with themselves and their consciousness, and that whatever element, you know, that sixth sense and these subjects is prevalent. More people of this ilk are a part of it. See, the problem is a lot of people here, they're so used to saying, oh, it started out with that's photoshopped, and now it's, oh, that's CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. I really, if I was in charge of this whole thing, it would be a requirement, a law, a very stringent law, that something has to be put into images and audio and video where you can detect if it's real or if it's artificially done. Because it's getting scary what's going on. And some of it's really, really good. I posted something on Facebook, and it was very interesting.
All your posts on Facebook are very interesting.
Yeah, some of them are really, really good. I'm going to get kicked off again. But this was like
you've been to jail.
Yeah. I trust me, they know me. I just checked my profile, and I still have like 20 strikes. It's just, you got to have a share of stock in Meta, the only logo that looks like a pair of testicles. But sorry, guys. But I shared something that was very interesting, and is very clear, and it looked, I want to say like a werewolf, or a really big wolf-ish type of creature with a little satiny feel to it. But I know this stuff. I do videos. I do electronic manipulation for designs and in whatever. And the one thing that I caught, and there's always something in video, is there was no shadow. The lighting was weird. There was no shadow behind him when the flashlight moved, and the lighting was weird. Now, a couple of years ago, probably 2015, about 10 years ago, actually, there was a video that came out, and I remember it because it started off with this UFO going over some trees. And this guy and a dog, the dog's whining and crying down this road in the Black Forest, supposedly, and the UFO comes over. It was great. And I'm looking at this because I remember seeing the initial video, and I said, "This is a tough one. I don't know, what's going on. Is it real or is it CGI?" And then again, I had to break it down. I watched different elements, and it was when I watched The Road, I said, it's CGI. The Road, when they make roads in these video games, they only make a certain segment of it. And then unbeknownst to you, they just keep putting those segments in. So the same pothole was coming every so many seconds, but you were so distracted by everything else. So this company was a CGI company, animation for video and for games and whatever. This thing was, but what they did was, this was where it got me. The first 3 to 5 seconds were actual footage of an unidentified craft. And I've seen the footage, and they broke it down. And I remember seeing this footage. I'm like, that's it. Oh, someone's got a better image of this. And no, they just took it, they digitized it, and then they added it to it and expanded upon it. So we got to be very careful about this. And this goes back to the UAPs and all this testimony and the hundreds of millions of dollars we're wasting on this crap. Because the bottom line is this: we live in a world where there are a lot more enemies than friends, unfortunately. Okay, we have a lot of rhetoric coming from different groups, and they're updating nuclear maps at this point. And you should be like, please cut it out. Don't incite the riot. Okay, choose your freedom of speech wisely, because we don't need that. There are plenty of people, like Russia doesn't want to go and do what they have to do. But this is the same thing well before my time, but they had something called the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And the Russians put nuclear missiles in Cuba 50 miles off our coast. So there's no difference between, we wouldn't want that, right? So we almost went to war. I remember my parents saying, my dad said, I thought we were going to all die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now the West is doing this to Russia right at their doorstep. Cut it out. Okay. We don't need this stuff. So, but because we live in such a weird world, I got to be honest. If I knew what we had, and I kind of have a really good idea from a lot of talking to people, a lot of connections, a lot of really weird phone calls with no caller ID, strange stuff.
Yeah.
I would never tell anybody what we have. I would never reveal, because it's a national security issue. Okay. And 2015, we were about 150 years ahead technology wise of everybody combined. We'll add another 100 years to it because we're a lot further than that now. We're close to 250 plus years ahead technology wise than anybody else. Okay. But here's the problem with this. A lot of the UFOs you're seeing aren't UFOs. They are man-made drones, self-autonomous vehicles. And what better way to test it than against your own military and see what the response would be?
And it's not like there isn't a history of the U.S. government pulling this crap multiple times, especially after World War II, where the CIA and the government just felt they could do whatever the hell they wanted, right? And that cost it one of our presidents with all the crap that went on with that, and Eisenhower said it, beware the military industrial complex, right? These people were crazy, insane warmongers.
Right. And what's crazy here, if you understand the concept of it, the president's security clearance goes to a certain level. You would think that person has the highest security clearance. They do not. There are individuals in our government
that's right
that have, I think it's Q clearance or whatever the heck it is, or higher than Q. I don't, and they know a lot more than the president, and they do not have to tell the president a damn thing. How weird is how? Not only is that weird, but how scary is that? But presidents still do it. Oh, Phoenix orbs. I do believe the Phoenix UFO, the lights in Phoenix, were not a test. Those were real. Because I see Chris has posted something about being in Phoenix. I'm just pretty interested right now. We have multiple, we'll call them orbs, but I'm think they're craft that appeared over 3 days ago over Washington, D.C., the Pentagon and the Capitol.
Oh yeah, I did see mention of that.
Yep. Last time that happened, but they were actual visible ships, and I used to have photographs of that because my dad was a Wide World Photos consultant, and he brought me home all this great stuff in the late 70s, early 80s. We didn't have this. We didn't have YouTube or any of these things. Computer. What was that? So that was in 57, I believe, that they had a fleet of UFOs fly over the Capitol or hover there. But
I think T-Bone's saying 52.
52? I thought it was 57. Maybe it was 2. But you have that, and now you have a lot. Well, there are a bunch of these same type of, we'll use these objects. People are going to call them UAPs, but they're UFOs or self-autonomous drones from another world, and they're flying over a lot of the bases in the US right now. I mean, for weeks they've been doing it. And it really started with the rhetoric, the nuclear rhetoric.
Yeah.
And now we have, I don't know if you saw the pictures. I had video of this because the pilot actually released it. And I'm trying to find it for you. But I can present the image that everybody probably saw, but let me share that screen so you can see it yourself.
Yeah, I'll throw it up.
Yep. I'm going to share that, and I'm just going to sneak it up, and I'm going to go like that.
Well, Brian, and when I was talking about how they always want to test us, test the new employee, find out where the weak link is, where is the intelligence leak. And then they have us second guessing everything. And that's what I was telling Dave over on his show. Thank you, Gary. We appreciate it.
Yes, it is, Gary.
I believe that I try not to think binary when it comes to this stuff. I don't think it's either or. I think two things can be true at the same time. We've observed and captured and recovered crashed craft, and we've advanced ourselves very far in a very short amount of time, using it from the nuts and bolts angle of we use this stuff for physical warfare, whatever. But there's also the second part, which means that we're like a cargo cult. We've been observing this stuff, trying to find ways to mass produce and recreate these things. And we eventually are pretty smart, hairless monkeys that we can figure some of this stuff out. And again, use it from a nuts and bolts aspect of it. When I think there's these two things that are constantly happening all at the same time. And so we get confused whether we're running into a government playing games with us and using us as test subjects. Let's see what they report and what they do when we drop a black triangle right on top of Wayne and Michelle, and they're teachers and they're educated. What are they going to do with it? Oh, look, they're starting a podcast. Ha 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 ha. Ha. Right. Or is it somebody showed up here and they're like, well, we're on the east side of Michigan again, and this is where all the triangles hang out. So let's just go and see what everybody's talking about. And you're like, well, what the hell? And, I happen to get my thyroid fried from driving underneath it and all of this stuff. So, yeah, it was a few months later that I ended up with hyperthyroidism. And then they said I had Graves' disease, which is not in my family.
That does happen. And so the triangle crafts in general, my personal opinion, from whatever I've done research wise and in the past, they're very visible. You can see them pretty damn clear. They're purposeful in that purpose. And I believe they are, without a doubt, the TR-3B, which is a reverse engineered craft from extraterrestrial, you know, recovered extraterrestrial machines. And we've been using it for a while. Matter of fact, if you watched when Iran sent missiles into Israel recently, I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, I saw parts of it.
There was a TR-3B in there, and it was shooting and getting rid of some of the missiles.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. But let's throw your article up here.
Right. So it's just an article to show you what's been going on. This was pretty interesting. I'm very intrigued by this because they're getting bolder. This is a Manchester airport. These are UAPs or whatever the hell you want to call them. I call them UFOs or self-autonomous drones that may be more on the extraterrestrial side. This is something very, very different. It's a little bit too small for our tech. We're usually something a little bit big. We haven't gotten to that micro level yet that I'm aware of. And this was hovering over the it's been hovering over military bases in the UK, specifically the ones that carry the stealth bomber, all our nuclear stuff. So see, again, we're getting into, they may know something that we don't know. Now I have people, I have a couple of individuals, and I said this before, that are hybrids. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to point them out to you, but I've heard from 3 of them, and they said our people are not going to allow you to do this. They've gotten rid of the nuclear capability. Well, that's great, but until we get to that conflict, we'll never really know. And I'm not, I wouldn't wager the farm on that information. Love these people, very interesting, questioning what they're saying, and it very well could be true. And I hope it is, because none of us want that permanent orange glow
right
that comes with this. They're talking about the Satan missile, and that is just, God, it's pure evil. I mean, it's really pure evil. We have more ways of figuring out how to unalive people than we are how to take care of them. And I think we need to start focusing. I'm not trying to be like, touchy-feely. Let's start focusing on how we can take care of each other, because I think everybody offers something very important, and we have a lot of potential. And I think that's why those are here.
Well, there is a nuclear component. I'm sure they're attracted to what we're doing when it comes to this, probably wondering why a race would be so basically suicidal. Like, because it doesn't take much, a couple of those things to go off, and we can radiate enough of the planet and stuff to be probably down to about 1% of all living things. It's really, it's insanity. And, you bring up, I believe there's a nuclear connection, because when Michelle and I started looking into this, we met Ray Szymanski, and he was one of our first guests talking about the 1966 UFO flap that happened here in Ann Arbor and Dexter area. It was huge. I mean, pictures and drawings, and Washtenaw County sheriffs chasing these things around. Selfridge Air National Guard Base dispatched 2 fighter jets, which he found one of the pilots of before he passed away. And I have his video testimony about what happened and the right angles that they flew and stuff. But they were here, and they were constantly flying over. And I didn't know this. We had Southeastern Michigan had Nike nuclear missile.
You have them there.
Bases surrounding Detroit and Southeast Michigan, because we had tank plants and built everything here. And the strategy, well, listen to this. This is how crazy these people were. The strategy was that if the Russians were going to fly over the North Pole with their bombers with nuclear weapons, we were going to shoot these missiles. We didn't even care if they hit. They're nuclear. right? Their area of effect weaponry. You just get it somewhere close to where those bombers are flying, and you pop a couple of those off in the right, like a gigantic flak cloud of nuclear waste. Now, it's up in the atmosphere, it's going to fall and all that, but at least they didn't get to drop their nuclear bombs on us.
I knew someone in college whose brother was in the military, and his job was to deal with nuclear related materials. And I think he was in Pakistan well before he got there, prior to that.
Mhm.
And his job is, when they tell them to, they get rid of the nuclear material. They destroy the weapons so they can't use them. That was their job. But he was telling us in college that there's a light at the top of just over Canada. And if that light is green, everything's good. And the plane comes back and no problem. They do drills like this all the time. But if that's light is red, they do not stop, and they don't stop until they obliterate Moscow. And us growing up, I don't know how old everybody is here, but if you want to see a movie that's really interesting and good, and like what's going on in this world and why we don't need to play with thermonuclear weapons,
shall we play a game?
Yeah, war games.
Okay.
Yes,
war games.
Yeah,
And a computer. See, this is another problem with it.
AI
here, they use AI, and there was a current conflict that was taking place, and the country was using AI. Now, there was a lot of, like I said, there was a lot of aircraft or UAPs or UFOs sighted over certain areas. Okay. They started using AI to actually send missiles at will wherever they wanted. That is such a bad idea, because the problem with AI is this. One, it's programmed by humans. Not a good thing. Okay? Not a good thing. Two, it's either black or white. There's no gray. And as humans, we are 99% the gray area, or the emotional component. And a computer will never, ever, it doesn't matter how much programming you put into it, understand that is a critical part of our lives. We grew up with a 2001 Space Odyssey. What are you doing, Wayne?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm okay, Hal. How are you?
I'm good. Open the door, Hal. I can't do that, Wayne. I literally just you talked about NASA, or as I like to call it, not a straight answer. And I just went up to, I was at the Kennedy Space Center, and I met my buddy. He came down with his he's a gun collection group out of Virginia. And so we went on a special tour of a very nice private collection from someone who manufactures for DOD, he's the arms manufacturer. But we were it was perfect because there was a Bigfoot sighting in the reserve next to where NASA is. So,
well, okay, that's kind of about where we're going to go with this, with talking about.
Yeah, it's just very interesting. So I'm with a lot of people that were in government people and know things that still have NDAs where they can't disclose for like 25 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why there's all these deathbed confessions. By the way, UFOs are real. Bye. What do you mean they're real? So right next to, there's a lot of wild park there by the launch pads. It's right there. And we went, first time actually going to NASA, with Kennedy Space Center, and we went through everything, and we were doing that, over the pod bay doors, Hal. Can't do that, can't do that, Dave. But I also took some time to go into the reserve, the preserve, and there are certain areas there. And there was a report last July of this year. It was, I forgot what the date was. Eyewitness was in the preserve, saw a male Bigfoot about 8 feet tall walking in the preserve that scared the hell out of him. So I kind of did some research with the BFRO, not my favorite group to deal with, and some other locals that are there. And I drove up, and a lot of locals. It is such a quiet area that when you say, "Hey, did you ever see anything over here?" and they're like, like they love talking to you. So yes, there are Bigfoot sightings there. There was one. It was a male. It was during the day, which is very interesting because most of the time they're not really. I wouldn't. You don't really catch them during the day. If they're coming out for some reason, they're interested or they're hungry. They kind of like that stealthy aspect of things. And I went into the preserve, and I'm walking around the preserve, and I'm seeing the telltale. There's stars on the ground. I don't have footprints yet, but one of the guys said there was footprints, but we did have a big rains up there, so those get washed away. But there are tree bends, there are arcs and X's, and I'm like, this is Bigfoot. And the trail, like I went from one part of it, which was you're walking, nothing, and then all of a sudden it's there. The little you get they like to do certain things so that they'll make a teepee with trees. And if you're walking there and you don't know what you're looking for, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. You don't think it when you're bending over branches that are thick, and they're able to manipulate them. So I'm seeing all these things, and I'm like, I'm hoping I got some kind of print coming, and it gets to a point where it says restricted space, government property, restricted space, no trespassing. Trespassers will be shot. So, I thought my daughter was going to kill me, but I really don't want to be killed by anything government or have to pay that fine. I'm currently trying to get permission through several individuals in the government that know what I do, and they like what I do. They're going to try to give me, a pass into the area or permission to be there. But one of the coolest things while you're there, they were doing a SpaceX launch like 2 days later. And I'm like, what the heck does this creature think when the ground rumbles like that and all this fire comes out and this thing gets shot up? Well, I mean, just think about that. I've never seen a live launch, and they're supposed to be amazing, but I'm just trying to figure out like what the reaction of this creature would be, and why would you want to hang out there? So that's one of the areas there. I also just got a little bit south of that area. I was talking about because I did 2 investigations up there in Titusville, Florida. I was investigating where the Bigfoot was because the Bigfoot sighting was over there. And then there's another investigation. I had the damn video, and my phone has been going bonkers lately for the last month, like to the point where I couldn't even shut it down. I was at the point where I was going to be like my old man and just take it and go and smash it, but cooler head prevailed. I went to sleep instead of smashing something, hold smash. And there is these kids that went into, I'm just going to say Titusville kind of stretches from where the NASA area is, by the water, and then it goes inland a bit. And it's more inland. They were playing around in another preserve, and these kids videotaped what's sitting behind both you and Michelle, an extraterrestrial. And I saw that video, and they said someone did skinwalkers in the woods. I'm like, there ain't no skinwalker. That is ET. And it was just, I got to get up there. It's about 2 hours from my place. And then when I went up there, I started talking to people about it. And some people didn't want to talk about it. Like, what are you talking about? They did, either they knew and they were just didn't want the attention, or they didn't know at all. And then you had a couple of people went into a bar, and they called over a local guy, and this guy came over, and it was kind of like Gabby Johnson, from Blazing Saddles. And he
Right.
spelled Florida-ese, but he's like, no UFOs have been here all the time, you know. And I'm like, oh, they have. And I said, can I come back and talk to you about it? He goes, yeah, I'm always here. And so he said that he's seen several beings that have come out of craft in the area. And he's also he knows about oh, those kids weren't crazy. They try to play it off, but they literally had the video. And when I went to go find the video, I can't find the damn video, and I'm really upset about it because it just like disappeared from my phone, because it was great video. And I believe there was a meta marker in there. So when you take pictures, right, with your phone,
Oh,
I shut it off unless I need to use it. I will shut off location. But most people, it's automatically on. And there were markers. And I'm like, it's going to get me within a couple of, like 100 yards of where I got to be. And it was like, okay, I took the screenshots. Everything from that point forward, after my phone froze, was just it's infuriating, but it's par for the course as an investigator. I saw some stuff pop up, so I can answer some things.
I am saving some questions in the starred list that we can get to toward the end of the show, because there are some pretty decent questions. But Rick Davis just wanted to say thank you for your super chat, and he says happiness is knowing who, when, and where they are.
Yes,
very interesting.
I just had a discussion, and if you want her on, I will more than happy introduce you to the psychic for our group. Her name is Cindy Bailey Dove. She's out of Arkansas.
Okay.
And used to be on the Star team and was pretty big in MUFON. And she knows a hell of a lot about drones. And I used to fight her all the time. She's like a sister, a sister from a different mister for me. She's my Yoda. So when I had an idea, I had some abilities, and I said I wanted to explore it, she was the one that said, you're off the chart. You're like me. And so I was able to get, to contact her, and it was like instantaneous connection. Like it's kind of like here. There's an instantaneous connection. You guys are great. There's a good feeling and vibe. Like we probably knew each other up there and said, listen, you two are going to see some UFOs, get married, and then start a podcast. And then I'm going to come on every once in a while as a guest.
You know what? That's probably very true, man, because I'll tell you, between like you, Ray Szymanski, Guy Merritt, who's in chat, who is a guest from up here in Flint, first had his UFO encounter, the Triangle, here in Michigan in '94, and his story is so bizarre what happened with him. And then like Jack Bouchon, the National Weather Service radar operator that was up in Muskegon during the '94 thing. It's like, we found like this little group, and then we got Gemma Jade, our psychic from over on. Yeah, she is amazing. I don't even remember how many times she's been on here now. We're actually going to go visit her in the summer and go out to the Atlantic City. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's like we all grew up
while you're there.
Yeah. We all grew up around the same time, and and I know you said, which I find amazing, is that disclosure already happened, and that disclosure was basically the 1977 movie of Close Encounters of a Third Kind.
100%. It had
Brian. You're blowing my mind, dude.
Yeah,
you're blowing my mind. Here's why.
Okay.
So I get this shoulder surgery, and they put me out. I mean, I'm gone for.
Right.
I come home. I can't take the pain meds. They make me sick. I'm puking my brains out for 2 days straight. I didn't really eat anything for about 6 days.
Keep going.
But I had this urge to watch Stranger Things again.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. And now I know I was loopy on the drugs and stuff, but I swear to God that I wanted to watch it because something was telling me The truth about this stuff is already out there.
It's right in
Watch
front of your face.
Stranger Things.
Okay, so I forgot her.
MK Ultra, all of this stuff. I'm like, holy crap, bro. This is it's just insane. I don't know.
I do a show every other Thursday. David Zublick's Wake Nation, totally different, and they're more political, but I'm tired of all the politics. I try to leave you with something really positive. We need more positive in this world. Okay. You know, trust me, I get bummed out and depressed, but tomorrow's another day and you don't know what tomorrow will bring. Okay. And you got to start think positive. Well, I'm having a bad day today. The hell with it. Put on something that makes you laugh, and go to bed, and tomorrow start fresh. Okay. And when you're sleeping, I always do this. If you have questions or concerns, or like, God, I really need your help. Can you make a better day for me? Give me something better. Talk to Michael, Archangel Michael, talk to the Lord, talk to your family members. Say, mom, dad, brother, whoever it is, uncle, whatever. Please, spirit guide, spirit angel, make my day better tomorrow. And think I'm going to have a great day. When you get up, I'm going to have the greatest day ever. And it may start out sucko because you teach young kids. Oh, I wonder who those two are. I mean, when my youngest daughter just said, I don't think I'm going to go to medical school. I think I want to be a teacher. I said, no, you're going to medical school. You want to teach after you finish becoming a doctor? God bless you. But I couldn't teach. I just couldn't. First of all, they kicked me out because I teach them alternative ways of doing things and to get to the same point. But I wouldn't have the patience for it. God bless you both for doing what you do. But to start remaining positive with what's going on. And in that show that I do, there's a woman called Penny Shepherd. And she MK Ultra'd. She is literally the female character in Stranger Things is modeled after her. And she will tell you things that will blow your mind. And if you would like to, I will introduce you to her. I'll get you on. I like doing the message thing, as well as my psychic. So I'll create the messages. And, I always ask before each party, instead of just throwing people like, hey, so when do you want to be on my show? I'm like, who are you? Do I have your social security number and get tax credits? No. Okay. Who are you? I like to make sure everybody's amicable about it, but Penny is wonderful. And the stuff that she tells you, when you said something about, I think someone else said something about MK Ultra. I'm like, I know someone, amazing and really great person. And the stuff she will tell you will blow your mind. So, and it also happens, here's the degrees of separation, right?
Yep.
My other half has worked in a day camp in Westchester, New York, since we've been dating. So she's been there for a long time. And she always loved it. She was a teacher. So July and August, right? Either you go on vacation or you work someplace as a counselor. So she's been there. So my kids got to go there, and my kids now work there. Thank God they're working. The older one's a lifeguard. The younger one doesn't realize it. She's going to be a lifeguard too. Yes, I'm dictating her life to her. But 2 summers ago, she worked with Noah Schnapp, who is on Stranger Things, and she's friends with him. And she did a project for school over here when she got into the high school. And they said, what's great about Sam or whatever. That was the project the teacher made her do. You have to do a video thing. You lucky bastards today. You get to do videos and stuff. You don't have to write on college line paper.
I teach the kids how to make a podcast.
Yeah. I think it's great. So everybody didn't believe her that she was friends with him. And there he is. Sam's awesome. She's great. She's a really good friend. And so she was like, street cred.
Yes.
Yeah. So Stranger Things kind of did it help you get out of the pain or focus your consciousness on something different?
I think it gave me a different type of focus, and we had already seen all of the episodes and stuff. So
Right.
I'm rewatching it, and then Michelle would join me, and we would have like a snack or eat some dinner or something together and watch it again. And what really, I honestly, dude, this is where I go. I don't believe in coincidences, because somebody who's like 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
And
there's no
it
coincidence.
that would be great to talk to. But I've also recently not met in person, but heard a lot of stuff from, I don't know if you know who Dr. Jack Cruz is.
That does sound familiar, but I'd have to see sometimes the face.
He's a neurosurgeon, and he's been on a couple podcasts. One of them was the Danny Jones podcast, and
Right.
he is, I want to say, probably one of the most brilliant people that is around and understands medicine and technology and the inner workings of the human body, because of things that he had happened to him. But his history goes back to working as a medical student at LSU while they were filming JFK in the basement there, which got him
the movie JFK.
the movie. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The new one or the old?
The
or the
old
original?
one. This
Okay,
is when he was a student back in the 80s. And
Okay.
guess who his surgical nurse was?
Who?
The daughter of the prosecuting attorney of the Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
And Clay Shaw, who was the failed Eastern Airlines pilot, who was a pilot during the Bay of Pigs, that got shot down, and a lot of the people he trained got shot down. And that was the guy that they ended up charging. But who he really wanted to charge, who the district attorney really wanted to charge, was the guy who was the head of the medical center down there. His name was I want to say Alton Ashner, something along those lines.
Okay.
Because now it's really weird, but he was like right in the middle of all this stuff. CIA, Jack Ruby, Oswald, Mary Ferry Baker, I think is her name. She wrote the book Oswald and Me. Yeah. Like, he knows all of this stuff that nobody knows behind the scenes, and he's just letting it go. Like how everybody's been MK'd, ultra'd. All of our screens in front of us are blue light. Why? Because they found out that they can send messages and make our cells become less resistant to things getting in through them to the DNA to alter us.
Especially the refresh rate is changed dramatically. We're using LED lights because they have a frequency to them. And this goes back, it's all the science and stuff like this. These are all the experimentation. But when we had the Spanish flu that killed everybody, technically it was when radio was first released, and it really wasn't the flu as much as it was how humans react to waves and frequency.
Yep. Well, light is a frequency.
Right. It is a frequency. But if you have the wrong frequency, it'll make you feel like you have the flu. It's proven. They also use lighting and light waves and UV to see under your skin. And that gets back to a couple of years ago and something that happened then. And that's how they were going to check to see whether someone had something or someone didn't take something. It's very weird, but when a lot of these people way back then, it wasn't it wasn't prevalent, the internet. It was, maybe it was AOL, or whatever it was. And the only, if you weren't, sexting on AOL or whatever it was, you were doing some stupid stuff at 1440, speed, which was like a dinosaur. If you guys think it's terrible when your TV buffers now for Netflix, imagine getting a dial up, bing, 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 you have mail. I mean, forget it. So they could tell people things, and because they're dying to say something to somebody, and they know, like, this is why when you go on investigations, you want to hit up the librarian in the town. No one talks to them, but they know everything because everybody talks. Like, no one asks them questions, but everybody talks to them. Talk to the waitress at the coffee shop. That's why when that doctor was at LSU and he's going through all this stuff, sometimes these people come in and they think you're part of the crew or whatever, and they can freely talk to you. You're getting information you should not be having.
That's right.
But that may have also been not a coincidence, but a divine point for him to take that neurological, step and let's see how this works in the human condition. I will tell you, swear to God, that I wanted to be a doctor at one point. All my friends and family that are doctors, I'm very versed in medicine. They tell me that I'm a waste of talent. And I said, I don't like going to hospitals hanging out with sick people, but I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So it's kind of odd there. And when everybody says, why a neurosurgeon? I said, because if I mess up, they're not going to know. Right? So they're just not going to know.
Yeah.
And most of the time you need a neurosurgeon, you're in a lot of trouble.
Right. I will send you the link to his show that he did, and it will, you'll probably recognize him. He lives out of the country now because of he's, very anti-Wi-Fi and blue light and, 4G, 5G, all of this stuff, because as a neurosurgeon, he understands the workings of this stuff inside of us. And he's like, human life is based on the same three things that NASA's out there looking for: light, sunlight, magnetism, and water. Those are the three important things. Yeah. You figured out how to manipulate and mess that up in us. And so very interesting stuff.
I'm going to bring you back using what you just did with neurological information. And I'm going to go into what's supposed to happen on December 3rd.
Oh, okay, cool. And then Michelle's going to bring you back to kind of the paranormal side of things with some.
Not a problem. We'll do that, but I think this is because there's a gentleman named Cliff High, and he created something called the WebBot. And the WebBot in the 90s was a scraper on the internet. It's a computer program that supposedly, the developer, which is Cliff High, he used Pro Logic. And what he did was he sent out these bots, these little computers out there to scrape information. So they collected all this information from different conversations taking place on the internet. And they used a couple of different variables, and I can't get into the technical side of it. We'd be here for hours. But basically, how people are reacting, the threshold of how many people are talking about the same subject, the using caps, which means you're screaming versus normal text. And Cliff, who calls himself a futurist, self-prescribed, described futurist, he was able to pull the information back, and he's tried to use this information to predict the stock market, make it predictable, which is interesting because I've worked on Wall Street many years. It's all rigged, but it's all rigged. And there are people that always have inside information, and it's just, not in your good benefit or behavior. But he did come close to, at one point, predicting that his claim to fame was that Bitcoin would go to $20,000, and it went to 19,784. So that's pretty close if you want to round it up. So Cliff back then, he has these points. He figured out that there is a universal consciousness that we're all connected to. And what happens is when we start focusing on things, we all start picking up on these little things. And we can see that if you have kids or if you have friends and you're intuitive before being you're like, what's wrong? You look worried. Like I can just tell when people are just, what's going on? Besides the empath, that stuff, whatever, that kills you, because you actually can feel them. But you can tell when someone's visibly upset, like what's going on. That we all share a collective consciousness, almost like this connection psychically. And he's sure of it. And I'm pretty sure of it too. Because depending on the intention, when we start doing things positively, we start praying or thinking good for a specific subject. They used to do this on news reports. Little Timmy fell down the well. So all these people now see it and they start praying for little Timmy, and it usually happens into a positive outcome. So there's a force behind there. Okay. That's part of your consciousness, which is part of your neurological, brain stems right there. But what Cliff predicted, and I remember hearing this years ago, because I followed Cliff for a while. He's really gotten out there, and he's gotten a little bit more prejudice is the best way I can say it without, about certain things. And I think it kind of ruins his data, because it affects his thinking, instead of keeping an open mind. But he predicted that there will be these TM called temporal markers. And once that marker happens through the data, in a certain amount of times that they can calculate based on the data that they're looking at, event A, B, or C shall take place. And he predicted back in like 2009 or something to that effect, that they got a temporal marker of Joe Rogan speaking to Donald Trump, or interviewing Donald Trump. And once that happened, 39 days later, there is going to be a battle in the skies of the planet between extraterrestrials and military craft, as well as extraterrestrial craft versus extraterrestrial craft. And he called it a melee, because it's going to get so out of hand that there's no, it's just everybody's going to be doing what they got to do to stop whatever is going to take place. So that's supposed to happen this December 3rd.
Okay.
I'd like to be wrong about this, but I really don't think it's going to happen. Cliff has had some similar predictions, and I think I may have talked about it. This was like the beginning of last year. There was another prediction that come April or March, one of those 2 months, I forgot what it was, extraterrestrials are going to make their presence known to everybody in humanity. Well, I'm still waiting. Are you waiting? I'm waiting. Opinion of Stephen Greer. Charlatan. A CIA plant. And sorry, I just saw the question.
Yeah, I put that one in the saved category, but I'll take it out now.
No, I apologize, but someone pulled it up. So
I know, no problem.
This is a problem we have. Sorry. I just saw it and I'm like, opinion of S. Greer, and I'm like, don't give many your money.
Yeah. All right, Brian. I want to
Yes.
bring you back to something here real quick.
Sure.
So
Bring
I'm
me
going to
back.
share something with you.
Yes, sir.
And I heard this. You do know, like, all of our mitochondrial DNA comes from the female. Did you know this? That's the only way we have the mitochondria.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's where the problems always start. Go ahead.
Yep. Let me turn this off, though, since you were talking about
All
this
this fail.
connectedness and stuff. Right?
Yes, sir.
This is an article from 2012. Scientists discovered children's cells living in their mother's brains. The connection between mother and child is never deeper than thought. The link between a mother and a child is profound, and new research suggests a physical connection even deeper than anyone thought. The profound psychological and physical bonds shared by the mother and her child begin during gestation, when the mother is everything for the developing fetus, supplying warmth and sustenance, while her heartbeat provides a soothing, constant rhythm. Now, what's the one thing in that first paragraph they're leaving out? the profound psychological and physical bonds.
Okay.
What are they leaving out?
Well,
they're nuts and bolts, right? They are doctors. They see this. They're nuts and bolts. But what about the mental, spiritual connection? And that's between everybody. You know what I mean? Like this stuff, they dress it up as nuts and bolts, but these people you would consider probably empaths. Imagine if they had a little bit of ability.
So
what they could do.
So I think we've discussed this, but I believe that through my own experiences and research, I have not had any type of I think it's called mind speak with Bigfoot or any of those creatures. I do get to talk to dead people. So when you say I talk to dead people or I see dead people, yeah, I see them and I talk to them. Which when it first started happening was just a little bit bizarre. Okay. But I've used it to help other people. So it worked out and I've gotten confirmation and I know I'm not going crazy or reliving some kind of high school drug induced usage, whatever. It's real and they tell you things. So somehow a lot of these animals or these creatures all know about the same subject. So when you have an interaction with a Bigfoot and you're cool, first of all, they see that through your aura. Your aura is your like calling card. If you got a good aura and you're good, if you're a good person, a good soul, you're going to have a good aura. If you're up to no good or you have issues or problems, they know your aura. They know exactly who they're dealing with. There's no BS in this, spiritual realm. But we do connect to, someone mentioned over there, a central consciousness, like a group, call it the Akash record if you want, that one repository. And I noticed that some of these creatures also go to the same repository. The Bigfoots, they kind of know. They know, like I've been in New York, Connecticut had an experience in New York, and there's a feeling you get when you start going the Bigfoot route or these creatures, when something's going to happen or you're being watched or whatever. You're connecting. You're not aware of it, but you're on a subconscious level. There is a vibration frequency that you're connecting to. So when a mother and father produce, you ever see that video of the egg and when the sperm hits it, there's a flash? Yeah, we don't, that's really, really, really important because what was the first, whether you're religious or not, I'm going to say it. What's the first line in the Bible? And on the, let there be light. God said, let there be light. Light is everything. What is light? We're getting back to it. Frequency, a wave. What do we have going on in our heads? Frequencies and waves and sounds. What do we react to on a cellular level? Sound, frequency, vibration, resonance. That's the key. The great masters resonate and vibrate at a higher frequency. Now, the fact that women have these children cells in their heads, of course they do. Why would they not? Not only,
they were shocked. They were shocked to find these because they didn't think that the fetal cells would pass like the blood-brain barrier, between mother and fetus. And they say that they have more males. So when they give birth to a baby boy, women have more of those cells in their brains than they do the female babies that they give birth to.
Maybe
fascinating.
Maybe the females have to leave a certain space, like allotment, for the larger male side of the spectrum. It's true that mothers have a bond with their children more so than most men don't really have that connection. There's something about, I have it on a different level, but a mother knows when their kid's in trouble. Like we got to go. They're in trouble. And that's part of it. I think I said to you guys at one point, A game I love to play with my children, drives them nuts though. They just rip me apart for it. Giants are real. Sorry, I just keep saying giants were real, and there's still some around. But
yeah, so people listening to this in the future, some people are throwing questions in chat, and as Bryan looks at them,
and I'm catching
like a squirrel moment.
Yeah. So what I do is, and I really try to do this with your own family. I try to do it with each other, because I think you can do it with each other subconsciously. You're not aware of it. When you start focusing on it, kind of loses some of it. I try to talk to my kids without saying a word. I sort of send them messages, and sometimes it works. They'll get, what did you want? What? And I'll call them in my head. I know I'm thinking of them. I really want them to come down, and they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They'll say, you just called me. Right? This is we're connected. If you have flesh and blood of two people that come together to make flesh and blood, there is a huge connection there. People know when they're, you don't have to be a twin to know when someone dies. You don't have to be there are people, the brothers know about sisters, and there's a big fight with those two. I've heard horror stories.
Dude, look at all the times that people have talked about, and this even happened to myself, and I'm sure everybody out there. When I say this, you're thinking about somebody one day you haven't talked to in a while, and boom, your phone rings.
Right, because so I started looking into some of that stuff, and it's trying to do a little bit of research, and I can't prove it because it's kind of hard, because you won't have that surprise element, like, hey, I'm going to think about you on Tuesday. Let me know if you feel me.
Right.
That kind of ruins.
You're right. Yeah.
Darth Vader, Luke's father. So what I've been, I really do think that when something like that pops into you and you like, wow, I haven't seen Dave in a while. I hope he's all right and whatever. And then Dave calls, or something triggers something that triggers a memory of you. Like, oh God, I remember when me and my buddy Clive were, I met him in, we were doing X, Y, and Z. And then the next thing you know, you get a phone call from the UK, and it's your friend Clive. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. I'm telling you, there's a central repository. And I've seen some stuff. We've talked about dreams and experiences at one point, where when you go, this is where you connect to that repository. So you may be thinking of them, and they may be thinking of you. And I'm almost positive that when you start sending that out to them, they're getting it, and they're sending it back to, oh my God, I haven't talked to Wayne in forever. And they're remembering something stupid you guys did or whatever, and then the next thing you know, one of them is going to be so like, I'm going to text them. You'll get a text or a phone call, or you may even bump into them on the street, which would be great. That's happened. I think we're connecting, and we're putting ringers up, and this is our circle. These are the people that we connected with up above, that when we were reincarnated came down to the prison planet, or as I like to call it, purgatory, to work things out. We made an agreement subconsciously that we weren't aware of at the time, but we're going to meet up, and we're going to connect. And that's why you're connected. You're connected to it. Think of it as a Wi-Fi network, right? So you have a Wi-Fi network. So as long as they have the same password, and that could be that DNA or the molecules, as long as you can access the same network, and I can see files on your computer, you can see mine, right? And when you expand, so you and Michelle, who lived on Wayne Manor, I mean, holy crap! If that was not like God going, do you think she's going to get it, sir? If she doesn't get it, this is going to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, like, why Tom? Well, I lived on Tom, and I went to Tom High School, and I, Tom the turkey, but there's reasons behind that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, because I think scientists are trying to say that there's a lot of different avenues that we're going to actually figure out that we're connected, but they don't know how to ask the questions and they don't know how to do the test. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the military does, because well, they had their MK Ultra, they had their,
They have a
men
specific
screaming
thing
at
they're
goat.
looking for.
Yeah,
They're specific.
exactly.
And they get really, they like, some guy comes up with the craziest idea. What if we could, or he heard, and unfortunately, this is no disrespect to people and their religions or anything like that, but a lot of things were learned due to what took place in WW2 by the occult activity of the Third Reich and the experiments they did on people.
Yep.
And I'm not a proponent of it, okay? But again, let's go back to NASA and who started our, we got to the moon because of Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
And there we had I can't even remember, I can see his face and I can't even remember his name. And there we had the head of Nazi Germany's, rockets and everything. And
Oh,
they,
yeah.
folks, they were, I am not kidding, like 3 minutes away from, we would all had a mustache, like this big, whatever.
Right.
So there was an interview. There was a person that went to, and wanted to see him. Doctor, I can't even remember his damn name. Not Robert. So they went and they were interviewing people at NASA about the space program, and then he came in and they sat down with him.
Werner von Braun.
Von Braun. But I just saw him because I saw his face on this, like when you take the bus tour at NASA.
Yep.
There's one spot, like, and I was schooling all the military guys about our Operation Paperclip and the Nazi that they're looking at right there for their space program. So,
right, but they worry about Fort Benning and Fort Bragg and all that. But here, NASA has a Nazi.
Well, I mean, it was smart because it got us. We took. Oh, you can take the tires. We're going to take the whole engine. Okay, great. Put your tires on whatever you want. We're going to build more of these. So the interview goes, you were so close. You invented all these things. Where did you get the help with this technology? Where did you figure this out? And without missing a beat, Von Braun went, we got it from them. And he pointed up. And he wasn't talking about God. And he wasn't talking about angels. He was talking about extraterrestrials. And that's where he got help. And most people don't realize that, like you couldn't say that publicly. Could you picture Jack? Listen, don't talk about, the green man, little green man at the moon. We got to the moon. There's a transmission from, I believe it's Armstrong. Santa Claus is here.
Yeah.
Okay. Santa wasn't there. There were extraterrestrials there because we took that leap from point A to point B. When you're talking about thermonuclear war, they pay attention because they don't want you to have it. We are the building block of their race that is out. It's gone. They did what we are on a path to doing, sterilizing it and getting rid of it. They can't reproduce. So they use our junk DNA and our DNA because we're like the great baseline to make, like, we're like a good, chicken bouillon to make soup from. Okay. And what they do is, you guys do science class, right? You get the grid, X, Y, X, X, whatever. And you're going to get a little alien, a lot of human in one box, a lot of alien, little human in the other. And then you're going to get all human and all alien. And that's why they are abducting people. And it's not your RH factor, by the way, folks. I'm sorry to tell you that. RH is meaningless. It's how rare or universal your blood is. So if you look at a lot of the people that get abducted, depending on who they're getting abducted from, a lot of the O's get abducted, negative and positive, because you can create whatever you want with it. Okay. It's universal. Okay. The rare ones probably are more on the insectoid side or reptilian. because they're very specific about, what they do. But this is, see how we're going full circle here.
Yep.
And what I liked about what you said on that article is, can we have a spiritual component in life, please?
Well, the doctors won't talk about that. We know this.
Some doctors are opening up to it. Once they started getting
They're
the
getting there.
Western philosophy in, they started opening up to it. But there I'm not here to be preachy on God or whatever. I'm telling you, it's an important factor. And you don't want to wait to that last moment when you exhaust this and you're standing online going, yeah, I didn't think you guys were real, but you are, because it's going to suck for you a little bit more than other people. Yes, they did have T-Bone's writing. They did have a paranormal division. They were in Antarctica for a certain reason as well. They went to Egypt for reasons. They had this, they had the just like in Indiana Jones, a saber or the spear of destiny. They had all that stuff because there is a paranormal or esoteric component to all that.
Well, that we're coming back to that. I
Sure.
think we could end on this thing, and I know I was talking to Michelle, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about when her dad had passed away, and you had sent a message to both of us about that happening. But Michelle, about 2 weeks or so before all of this stuff was happening, you told me something right before we went live on a show.
It was 4 days before.
Yeah. So
4 days before?
4 days before my dad took his last breath, I got just this uncanny feeling that something was going awry. It was almost like my dad was saying bye to me.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't that I heard anything, I felt it.
Was it when you were awake and conscious, or both? Like
Yeah.
sleeping and awake?
It was when I was awake.
So
100%, because she was sitting right next to me where she is now, even though she looks like she's in the bottom screen there. She was sitting next to me and she goes, I feel like my dad is crying out for me, like he's like terrified or fearful or scared, and you just had this pit in your stomach that, and then it was time for us to go live. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
But
it's really it's what happens. A lot of times they know. There's a video that's actually on Facebook right now of an old man, older black gentleman who's dying, and his son's playing, the blues on the guitar, and he keeps reaching out. He's seeing the family coming to get him. Most of the time they send somebody, they send people. I don't know if you were talking to him for days prior to that when this happened, but I would wager that he saw family members like, I saw my dad the other day. He looked just like my dad.
Dude, you got to tell him what happened.
Or my dog, and what they know. It's really weird. Some people, when you go the natural way, not like something shocking, you smell it, you can smell it, you can see it. Everything what you're seeing, like I'm seeing you guys right now. I'm seeing a computer in a room with a mess. Thank God my wife doesn't come in here, and some other things, right? But when they look past that, this starts to fade away, and then what's coming comes in, and they know. So who are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to connect to the person they love. And that's what he was doing. He's like, look, shit's hitting the fan. Oh, sorry about the cursing. That was basically his way of saying, I love you. I'll always be there for you, no matter what. And you gotta buck up a little bit, It's tough to deal with. But go ahead. What took place?
Do you want me to tell him?
Which part are you talking about?
Well, there was a point there for about 3 weeks where Michelle couldn't get a hold of her dad, and nobody that was down there around them or around him was responding to her phone calls or text messages or anything. So when she was saying that she was getting these, could hear her dad's voice, felt this or that, she's not kidding. She didn't have, we're up here in Michigan, he was down in South Carolina. And she had no contact with him until she found out. Well,
he had no way of dialing on a phone. So, and he had been back and forth from the hospital to the senior center, or senior center that he was living at.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get a hold of him, I had to get a hold of one particular family member, and calls and texts weren't going through. So, or they wouldn't get return, and possibly because they were, busy dealing with everything. So, it just uncanny. But Dad had also had been talking about seeing like shadow figures, children a lot of times, even
telling the visitors and the nurse, get these kids out of my room.
Yeah, get the kids out of the room. He would ask me, do you see the children by the door? I'm like, Dad, I don't see any kids. There's no kids here. He's like, there's 2 kids right there.
I have a feeling that the property was something different prior to him being there a long, long time ago. And the veil, I hate the term, but it's the truth, that no man's land between live and dead, it just deteriorates. And and you start getting more intuitive, and you see things, and people say some weird things. I think my father's mother would look out the window in the home and look and behold a miracle. And she was seeing a miracle, and her face lit up. And my father didn't believe in all that stuff. I used to freak him out with what I would tell him things. And but I do believe that. I do believe that, as here we are, right? Heaven and earth. Heaven's really up here. But as we get closer and closer to, going to, back home to God, we get less of the modern world, and we start seeing things for what they really are. We start using abilities we didn't have, especially when you get older. And you think those people, they have dementia or whatever. They've already started realizing that everybody's 100% very much aware of what's going on. As they, even in the dementia fog, they know it. Is that it's like they're trapped in something. But sometimes they'll do that where you're sending messages trying to get to this relative, and someone will purposely interfere with that because they have to go through a certain process. And if you start to interrupt it, it may mess you up for the future. Like, there's something in the Bible, and I don't do this. When someone passes away, you have to bury them within a certain time frame. You can't just keep them out and have liquor and hors d'oeuvres like some of the Irish wakes I've been to. You really need to bury them as quick as possible, and you don't touch the head area. There's something about the head area, and I think it's where the release valve for the soul goes, and it goes through, or there's a connection there. And that's why this is your mind, your consciousness, your soul are really, connecting brain, body, mind, heart, soul is a reason. It's the brain and the soul that get connected, and everything else brings it in. And something was going on with your dad. And I did see, I was just looking back up there was a woman that was kind of receiving him that was a lot shorter, and I just saw her from the back. I think I remember telling you. And I don't, it's just instantaneous. And something that I do, and I'm amazed at this because sometimes I've done readings for people and it takes a lot to pull stuff out, and other times it's boom, boom. It's ding, 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 right after the other. You just see it. And I see it. And it's really weird how I see it. I mean, if I could sketch the room and everything, he's being received and he's happy about it. And he's back, and he's like, you'll always see your father as your father, right? But he changes to what he wants to be visibly looking like. So your father may present himself to everybody else as a 21-year-old guy with really slick hair, looking really good, like, hey, ladies, but you'll always see him as daddy. That's how it'll always be, and that's how I see it. It's very interesting. I can see my uncle. I can't see my father. I keep getting a back and forth version of him as a younger person and what I remember him as. And actually Cindy is the one that told me I did not mention anything to her that my father died. My father looked like Lou Albano. Okay. Remember the wrestler?
WWF?
Yeah. Lou Albano to the point where, I mean, he really looked like them. He had the same type of crazy shirts. He had the hair everywhere, and we put rubber bands in just to piss him off. And yeah, he looked like that. And he was on the Jumbotron when we went to a Toronto Blue Jays game. And I'm like, oh my God, Enrico Palazzo, from Naked Gun. But it was either that or he looked a little bit like Sebastian Cabot, which is a very, very old actor, or the guy that was in Indiana Jones that played his Arabic partner, who's also in Sliders. So that's how, I don't see him any other way but the way I see him there. But I can't connect to him. But the psychic for our group, I'm driving to my father's to bury him. She goes, your dad's here, he's talking to me. And I'm like, okay, well, I just left the funeral home. And she started going into everything. She started telling me things. And she got mad at me. And I'm like, she was spot on about everything. She goes, well, damn it, am I right? Or, I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. You're spot on. I'm not, I mean, she just told me, actually, I was coming back from New York recently. And she says, your father is going to be one of your guardian angels. And I said, oh, God, I'm in trouble. Because I am in so much trouble. But
what people may not realize too is the message that you had sent to me through Wayne's Messenger at the time of my dad's passing. There are things that you said in that message that there is absolutely no way you could have known.
Yep.
So when I say,
yeah, go ahead.
Certain things were very, very shocking, especially about coins. The shorter figure definitely is my mom.
Okay. So I don't like doing that a lot for people. It's very upsetting when someone dies. And one of our friends died month and change back. Tom Cardos, he used to do a Cryptid and Paranormal. Tom and Carlito's Crypto Paranormal Kingdom. Great guy. Great guy. He recently got really in touch with God. Jesus is the savior. He went out Friday to get his wife something. Didn't make it down the block. Accident, whatever it was. So that killed me. I literally was supposed to, when I was coming this past summer down to Florida, because these kids start in like August. If you guys had to go to school in August, you'd probably kill yourselves. Like
we
teaching
always
in
go
August.
back to the last week.
Okay, well, this is August 4th or 5th, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd probably drop out. We're going through the remnants of Hurricane Debbie, and it was tropical storm. So we were going, into flood watches, tornado warnings, and some other stuff. So I went into North Carolina, and Tom lives here. Worst comes to worst, I'll go, Tommy, I need a place. You know, we're driving down. He'd be like, no problem, come over. And I wanted, you know, we were making plans for them to come down to my house so they can go to Disney or whatever it is. Didn't happen. But yeah, Cyndi Lauper in there. Sorry, that's you all down at Cyndi Lauper. Girls just want to have fun. His wife's really great. He left behind 2 young kids, and it's really tough, and it really hurt, you know. But I know I can see him. I can see him going through things, and I'm trying to explain to them, trust me, he's watching over you. Trust me. They don't just leave. It's very rare, but some people are like, no, I'm not doing this. I got to watch and protect them. And I know he's watching over them and protecting them right now. When it happened, I get it with connection. As soon as I heard it, it just started flowing, and I just went and I started typing it out. A lot of times I use voice to text. Sometimes it comes out really bad. No disrespect. But I just wanted to get it out, and I didn't do it to hurt you or upset you at a time that you are upset, but I wanted you to know what I was seeing. And I didn't do it to take advantage, because there's some people out there that will take advantage of the situation. I'm just telling you, he's fine, and he's going to give you signs. And they go through an orientation program. Remember when you went to college? You know, you had to come up early. All right, that's the bookstore. Thursday we start drinking, and that's the pizzeria.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, you probably had an 8 o'clock in the morning economics teacher that was Japanese. Not very much like this. And we're like, what are you saying? You just started drinking on Thursday. So, but you know, you got to go through an orientation. They tell you, you know, you do go through that. Welcome to your life. And then you get options. And then you have to get acclimated. And, you know, oh, don't forget to stop at the shop and get your tunic, you know, whatever it is. But you go through that. And then some people don't have to reincarnate. They've checked all the boxes that they made in mistakes. And they're like, you're good. You can stay here. And you go higher up in the pyramid, and you're living large, right? Or existing. You go back into the ether of the consciousness. That's why they can see past, present, and future at the same time. They know what's going to happen to you. And they're not supposed to interfere, but some people do. And I'm trying to tell my father to do that with the Mega Millions lottery. You know, are you listening? So what? You stay on level 9 for the next, you know, millennia. Seriously, I'm like, hi, hello, can you help me?
Can somebody please help us out with the lotto, please?
Yeah. Can you? I mean, you know, they always say, oh, if you're psychic, you know the lottery numbers. I'm like, if I did, I would not be telling anybody, but a lot of people would be getting some good relief from me. You know, like, here's $1 million for you, here 25,000 for you.
Yeah, we told our kids that if we ever won the lottery or anything, all they're gonna hear or see from us ever again is the little thumbs up emoji will show up in their phone, and that'll be it.
So many months ago, my youngest is turning 13. So when she was about 5 or 6, we're living in New York, and I woke up to go get ready to get them to school with you know, we drive them to school, and I wake up and she comes over, Daddy, the lottery is over $1 billion. You can buy that house you want. And without missing a beat, I go, and you can come visit me.
Yeah.
Like, Daddy. Exactly. I promise. I told everybody, I said, you will never know that I hit the lottery. You will never. Money is the root of all evil. You'll never know I hit the lottery whatsoever. And Aaron loves your hair, Michelle. Right,
I feel like this is a repeat of the other night.
It looks yummy. I gotta admit. But I said there will be a tell. See, the problem with me is I love guitars. So if you start seeing, like, you know, that's a custom PRS and that's a custom this or whatever. But no, seriously, if you see me driving in a Lambo, something happened.
Something happened, and you didn't steal it.
Something happened. Yeah. But I seriously, I would, the way we're going, I think part of wrapping back to UFOs and why they're here and what they expect from humanity, we have so much potential to do so much better. We have the potential to change our frequency in our body, in our brain, in our molecular structure by using more of our brain and capacity to the point that we can vibrate at the same frequency of concrete, steel, and other materials that these freaking ETs go through, because they can do it at will. Some of the extraterrestrial biological entities, they do it at will, and they go through, we have the potential to do it. We have the potential to travel wherever we want to go. I've done it. I've gone to places, and it's really weird as you start doing more and more of the RV work, and you like, Michelle, you should really try a lot of that stuff. Because you were spot on before, but when you start doing it, you literally can sense the temperature in the room. If it's hot, if it's cold, if there's sun, you can really, everything you can think of that you can do right here and right now in this area, you can do on by a remote viewing. And it's just, it blows me away every time I do it, because some things are like, do you have a cold room or a cold, yeah, we have okay, go in the freezer. And I just did it to my psychic. I said, she missed her cigarettes, and I'm like, they're in off a white case that there's like a basket underneath it, and it's either there or fell in the basket. And it's pretty weird telling your psychic where her shit is.
All right.
Yes, Wayne has great hair too.
Yeah, just it's the beard. Everybody loves the beard. And then let's see, what else do we have here? Is that it? Well, I said I had a question for you that I wanted to hit you up with. And
sure. I mean, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, because this is a good question, and it kind of is at the heart of one of the things I do kind of on the side, and it has to do with ancient civilizations and stuff. So
Yep.
Woo Dog or Woo Rider DG had asked, do you think, Brian, there have been past human civilizations that achieved advanced technology to the point of interstellar travel and living, and do you think they are watching us now? For me, I'm saying yes. But
I 100% agree. And there are multiple civilizations. Maybe some are watching us now in some way, shape, or form, or maybe some have just had to go for whatever their reason. And I will go so far to say that the Egyptian culture wasn't started by Egyptians.
No.
It was started by something that was globally on this planet, and many, 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 many billions of whatever it was years ago. I think we have a series of, we get to a certain point and we mess it up. Then they have a mud flood, and then we go, and then, all right, clear the board. Let's try it again until we get to a certain point. That's what I think we have. But the Egyptians, of course, I think they came upon this and they were like, oh, this is interesting. And maybe there was somebody there. Maybe they got the tail end of them and said, this bird equals this, they made a translation into something, and then they took it as their own, and then ran with it. Because if you kind of can understand the directions or the ingredients, you can do some things. But getting back to giants, I think giants were actually used to build a lot of those pyramids and a lot of buildings. And yeah, so, and they were here for multiple reasons. But this is why when you do the Holy Saint Michael prayer, it's not only Satan you're banishing, sent back to hell, but it's all evil spirits seeking to ruin the soul of man or something like that. There's a lot of stuff that was here. The jinn were here. Giants were here. There were, You know, I think since you've been on Dave Scott, I think he's Team Stump. I believe Devil's Tower is a tree trunk. It's a stump.
Oh, okay.
Stump of the tree. And I believe it was there. I believe there are certain landmarks and land foundations that look rock, that look exactly like dragons. And yeah, I think they are dragons and monsters that are so petrified they become rock. But
Yeah.
Crazy talk, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, and but is it? Because when you look at like Genesis, right? When you look at that stuff and you look at the Hebrew alphabet, and they only had so many letters, and no vowels, I believe, and there's a lot of things that can be lost in the writing of
100%.
some of that material. And if you just put a period at certain places, like it will change the meaning of a lot of things. Like in the beginning, God created, period. Now, created what? Well, and then it says the earth was devoid of light and formless, but there were things on the earth, or whatever the right. So it says in there, I mean, the Muslims believe the jinn was an ancient society that was here, and people living way before us, and that's why Satan, or the adversary, the fallen ones, hate us so much. And I like this idea that they talk about as for the reason why, because you have God had created beings of pure light, like the angels.
Yep.
And God created the physical.
Yep.
We're hated by the pure light ones because we were created to be both. And no other, and that makes me think about aliens too. No other beings that are mentioned are like us, who is supposedly like him. That's why we're in his image.
Everybody is, right?
What's that?
Everybody is. So like we're all, each one of us is in that image. And you're right. I mean, like long before Chariots of the Gods came out, when I was being forced into religious school, and I got kicked out of several of them. Thank you, Gregory, the other Russian. We had a good time. But I always, when you think of the concept of angels, so what happens if they're really aliens? I've always thought that, or vice versa, or whatever it is, and what is God? And the problem we have as humans, and we have a control issue down here. People want to control people, and that's not good. That's not what God wanted.
Right.
Only God controls. And then this is why they don't want you to learn all this stuff. Like why were they surprised to find out that there is chunks of children's, genes and whatever in the mother's, she gave birth to them. He held this is why I have a problem. My brother's wife walked away. How can you have something grow inside you and just walk away from that and not have any type of, I mean, don't get me wrong. They try your patience a lot. Okay. But how can you have that physically grow inside you and just walk away from it like it was nothing?
Right.
Don't get it. That's why men usually walk away, because they don't have that connection like that, like the mother has. And most of them, I was in the operating rooms when she got the Colombian necktie, so our doctors were great. Dad, come over here. Doctor, that's a bad idea. I'm like, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I did a great job. Oh, you did a great job. Thank you very much. But we don't have that. We don't have that. We get to feel the bump every, like, oh, look, he or she's kicking. But you have to sleep with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, like I said, I knew from day one, I was ecstatic the minute I knew that she was coming both of them. And when she arrived, and I'm still ecstatic, she just applied to colleges, which freaks me out, but it is what it is, but the whole thing is my youngest goes, I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. I'm like, I've kind of figured that with you. And that's what you do as a parent. Yeah, you could stay here. This is your place. You're going to want to leave. I promise you.
Yep.
Yep.
It
all depends on, would you? I'm out. I'm going to get some chicken today.
All right. Well, Bryan, you know what? We've been at this 2 hours and 10 minutes already. We're just sitting around having a conversation. And I know Michelle's got an early morning. I'm still going to be convalescing. So I got to do my schoolwork here at home when I get up and able to do that. But I think we're going to have to get you back on here.
Sure. My brain hurts now. Only joking.
Yeah, probably soon, because we got to get on this remote viewing for 2025. So I'm thinking maybe shortly into January
Why don't you do a prediction show and have your audience? Oh, I just spit out that man. Have your audience send predictions in, and you do predictions, and then you can have a guest predictions.
Okay. Yeah.
One of my friends, Jim Mallard, used to do it, the prediction show. By the way, it's pretty accurate. Every year I open my mouth. but it's a great way, interactive. Everybody in here, T-Bone, throw some predictions their way.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do that. We're on the 29th. We're going to have a prediction show.
Sure.
There we go. So Sunday the 29th.
I haven't done my prediction. I normally do it in August, but it's been a rough couple of months. So I haven't sat there and did predictions, but I will sit there and do some predictions. And I will reveal them on your show.
Awesome.
And then you could all say he's so wrong about that.
All right, Bryan. Well, anything coming up that you want people to know about before we get out of here?
Nothing just yet. I'm doing a couple of interviews. I'm trying to get my show up, and I'm trying to do it in I was trying to do it this week. But my guest decided to bail on me. So look for me Wednesdays on YouTube at Bryan, Bryn, Bowden @ YouTube. And you'll get there Third Eye Live. And I may just start going on and just, not a guest. We'll figure it out. Thank you, Diane. Fast, Hemi. That's a good truck. And that's what I got going on right now. Hopefully.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, if you've got anything, Bryan, you get, set up and you want to put it up on our Facebook group, or you want me to send it to everybody, just send it my way via Facebook and I will pass it on.
You guys come on, actually.
Sure.
Look for the interview question. It's gonna be really, I just want to know how you got into doing what you're doing. And it's different perspective.
Here's T-Bone. I predict I will have Wayne and Michelle on many more YouTube channels. Yeah. Hey, T-Bone, wherever you want to get us on there, we'll be happy to
awesome,
have those
T-Bone.
conversations. Yeah. So he's a little mastermind behind the screen there. So
there we go. Well,
yeah.
When I start up, you're more than welcome to come on.
All right, Bryan. Well, have a great night, man. And I will be talking to you soon, especially about some of those guests. So,
definitely. We'll set that up.
All right. Take care.
Right, take it easy, Bryan.
All right. Michelle. Woo, that was a good show.
I always love talking to Bryan.
Yeah. I mean,
or just like listening to his philosophy on things.
Yeah.
So I get engrossed. You see me leaning on my hand. I'm like listening.
Yep.
Trying to respond to folks in chat, writing something, December 29th prediction show.
Yeah.
So that means some folks need to email the page.
Yep. So for sure, email the page and all that good stuff. And we'll start collecting those predictions.
That's and mi.ufo.podcast@gmail.com.
Yep. And everything will be listed down below in the show description as always. But on that note,
have a great night, everyone. 4 a.m. comes very, very early for me.
Yes, it does. All right, everybody, have a great night. Have a great week. We will see you next Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know who the guest is yet. I'll make a prediction. It'll be somebody. So, All right, everybody, have a great night. And remember,
keep your eyes to the sky.
Geez, Yummy, why'd you have to do it like that?
Oh, really?